We're here this morning, kind of chilly in the shop. Complete change of plans once again. I'm gonna go ahead and get these doors jerked off of this. I'm gonna take the dash, steering column. I'm just gonna gut her down, and I'm gonna put the big cab on here for now, and I'll just make it operational so I can move it around and everything. But rather than pull these doors off and put it on that cab and then only have one door to put back on this cab because the other one's going to go on that work pickup and so on, I'm just going to go ahead and pull off the cab swap real quick. It's going to be a little bit of a task. I'll have to pull this Hydro Boost and everything off, and I think, well, I pretty much know that I'm going to be sectioning this chunk of the corner of the cab out and putting this one in the big one, because this one is yet again different than the other one. So I guess I already had that cut out and it's not fully welded in there anyway, so it's one way or the other I had to weld it in, so it's not kind of 6 one way and half dozen the other, so not a big deal. So I'm going to get this one stripped down, get that one's pretty much stripped down. I have the heater box left in it to pull out, but there's no sense in putting doors on this cab and leaving that other one exposed when it's got all the stuff in it to make that run. And if I'm going to leave that 6.7 in this outfit, I've got a line on a 2-wheel drive 5-speed manual out of a Cummins, so I might have to run over there and get that bought so that I have it for the 51 Chevy so that I can get started on that project. I'm gonna get after this. There's nothing exciting and really nothing worth videoing on it. Just gonna tear it down and bring you back when I'm a little bit further along with it. Okay, 1 hour in. This door and the lower fender are gone. The other side is the same. Like I said, it's about an hour in. Kind of dark over here. No lighting, as usual. Okay, so doors are gone, fenders are gone. Now I'm going to move on to the steering, the gear shift, the brakes. Maybe I can get that done before lunch. And then I'll pull the dash out. Once the dash is out, then the heater box will come loose from this cab. All the brakes and the master cylinder and stuff like that for the clutch and all that will come off. There's an e-brake in here down on the floor. I'm not exactly sure how that goes. I've never tore one of them off, but I'll figure that out. I think I'll just leave the seat in here for now. I'm not sold on it. It's got like a hand pump, maybe air ride driver's bench in it. It's got a bar that goes right across your lower back. Every time you hit any sort of a little bump or anything, it tries to paralyze you. So that's going to go one way or another. I will not have that seat in there. Having these two cabs so close together might interfere with me being able to get to the back mounts on this cab, but we can deal with that because I'm going to pick this big cab back off of here anyway to spin it around and stick it on the chassis back where it belongs when it goes in to be the main cab. So I'm going to get to pulling steering column, doing that stuff. I think you can leave the steering column attached to the dash. It just makes it, I thought Slim was going to be here this weekend. He doesn't come till next weekend, so I thought I was going to have him for the weekend to help me with some of this heavier stuff, you know, to pay rent on the YouTube shop with his project. I'm going to get after that and I'll bring you back in a minute. I've got this much of the firewall tore off. Got the fuse panel, Got all the wire looms unhooked and popped off. Got the clutch master. The brakes are loose. As you can see, they're hanging out there. The only thing holding them in, I think I left them tied to the pedal in here to where it wouldn't just fall out and spill the brake fluid. I got the steering column somewhat unwired. The blinker switch and stuff is still wired in, so I gotta pull the ignition out so I can take that top piece off of the column to unplug that, and then the steering column will pull out of there. It's all unhooked from the steering shaft and it's unbolted from under the dash, so it's ready to come out. I get that done, and then I got a few ground wires to unhook, and then I'm gonna have to go ahead and pull the seats out of it because there is a wire loom that comes across the floor, and I don't know where that goes. Might go up to a seat belt or something in the seat, but I'm not sure. Come over the e-brake, I don't know. So I'm gonna have to pull the seats and pull the floor the carpet, the floor panel out of it. There is wires that go up into the headliner because it's got the clearance lights and the dome light, and probably it does not have a third brake light. Okay, so let's scratch that off the list. But I got just a few more things to do there, and then I can unbolt the dash and pull it out, and then take the heater box off. Got the e-brake lever and the shifter still in the floor here, and then this cab will be ready to go off. Once that goes off, it looks like this front cab mount is going to be somewhat different than the four-door extended cab is. But when we pull that carpet or the whatever floor panel out of it, this rubber floor mat, there'll be a cab mount bolt here, and then I don't know if the ones in this are like the pickup where they'll be behind the seat. I have no idea. If they are, they're under a tray and everything. So, all right, I'm gonna go eat lunch, and I'll come back and work on this a little bit, and then I'll catch you back up. Quick update here on the 650. The dash is gone. Got that pulled out. Steering wheel's all pulled out. Onto the heater box. There's half on this side, half on the other side. That'll be pretty straightforward. Then I'll get all of the wiring pulled out of this cab. I think that the wire that went under the floor mat on that side over there, the rubber floor carpet, I think it just went over to the seat belt on the driver's side. But I just got a few more things to go, so I'll get my shifter, e-brake. Might as well pull this passenger seat to where we can get the mat out, the floor. It's a carpet, but it's not. It's a plastic. What do they call that? Just a plastic floor. Anyway, so I'll get the heater box out, the other stuff, and it'll probably just take a minute, and then I'll get the cab mount bolts pulled, and then at that point, this dash here is all pulled out, evidently, but it ties in. There's nothing to disconnect for all of these other wires that go through this whole cab. So I have to go through and pull all those wires. This pickup is a mess, but I'll get that, and I'll pull the seat belts and everything out of this because they're pretty much destroyed. And then the mat and everything on the firewall on this, I'll strip it down far enough that I can put the one out of that truck in this one, because it'll have everything covered up that needs covered up, and it'll just match And then this one over here, you can see that anywhere that it made contact with the firewall, the mice have used it for a restroom. So I'll get all that taken apart and cleaned up, and we'll be swapping the cabs around shortly, hopefully before dark. I didn't get back right after lunch. I was making sure that Slim's latest video posted, so go over to Slim's Fury here on YouTube and check that out. This time around, we set the body on the chassis of the 2013 and did all the measurements and everything, and then we put the front clip on it, did the measurements, did some trimming and stuff. Ran into some troubles, but you won't even probably know about that. You don't really catch on to it in the video, but it will be there next week. It was kind of what he was doing while I was doing all the trimming and stuff. So like I said, slip over there to Slim's Fury and check that out. At the time of the video, it was just a 12-year-old kid working on his first car. So pretty interesting, you know, for a 12-year-old. It's not something that you see every day. There's a little shout out to my son and his channel, so go check that out. It's the next morning. It is cold enough in my shop that I gotta wear gloves to touch my tools because they are cold. Quick update. She is stripped down. I have got the 4 cab bolts left, and then this single cab can be pulled off of the 650. Still have the clutch pedal and the steering column in it. This is hooked to nothing. This I need to pull 1 bolt down on the steering box down here. And pull this bolt so I can take that shaft out. It doesn't really have a collapsing piece to it that I could collapse it far enough to get it out of the cab so that I don't have to come back with the cab, and I can't really come back with the cab with the gear shift lever in there, so I'll have to pull that steering shaft. But I'm going to do that, and then we'll pull it outside and jerk this cab. I'm going to bring this cab back in. I'm going to set it in here by the 2-post. I guess I have the Bobcat here, so I could bring it in and actually put it on the 2-post so I don't have to work on my knees, and lift it up to where it's easily accessible. I'm going to have to cut out, I know, at least the brake area, or the brake booster, the Hydro Boost where it goes in here. This one for this big truck, this is way bigger. It's probably almost twice as big, and there's 6 holes for it instead of 4. And I think the other one is in a different location too, so I'm gonna have to cut that out. There's like a Nerf bar that runs along the firewall here. I'll give you a better shot of that when I'm cutting it out. It must just add rigidity to the front of the cab. Not 100% sure why they put that there. When it's a full unibody, where this comes out like I cut off of the other cab, comes out and comes down to the radiator support and stuff, I can't imagine that adds that much strength. So I'm not sure what they were doing there, but there's probably a reason for it. Also, there's these bolts here. There's 4 bolts that go for the block, for the heater thing that goes in the intake for cold starts. This cab over here, it's got a bunch of kind of sporadic threaded pins that this heat shield hooks to, but it doesn't have the 4 that cab has. So I'll probably replicate that and just weld some bolts to the firewall to hold that relay. I don't think I'm going to cut a big section out or anything like that and weld it in. So there'll be a few things like that. I'm going to get those 4 bolts pulled and that steering shaft so that I can get this outside and jerk that cab. I don't know if I'll show any of that. It's kind of rinse and repeat of what we've been doing. If my forks will fit, I'm just going to run the forks through here and pick this off. If I destroy this cab, it's not a big deal because I am not going to reuse it, and I'm going to cut chunks out of it where it's that much different than the pickup cab. It's not going to make a difference anyway. That's where I'm headed. Back in the tractor because got the cab coming off the F650. Now, We just have to back this up and set it down, because I'm just going to run it back into the shop with the Bobcat and put it on that 2-post so that we can cut the pieces off of this cab that we need to cut off the other cab and weld into place so that the holes are in the right place and the right size and everything. Trying to get this done so that I can unblock the road, because right now my huge roadblock to anybody trying to get through there has been zero traffic so far, so that's a good thing. Alright, so I got everything pulled off. There's a semi coming right now, but I think he's just going to weigh some bales at the scale, so I'll get this stuff shuffled around. And well, I got the cabs kind of taken care of. These chunks of plastic here, unfortunately, when I was pushing the frame back into the shop, the outside section of the heater box, it fell down and wedged between the frame and the tire. It popped this piece here off and broke it a little bit. So like this whole side over here is now deleted, which, I mean, it's not, definitely not a good thing by any means. She does have antifreeze in it. That heater hose just flopped over and gave us a little puddle down here. Get some floor dry on that before it runs through the whole shop. Yeah, that chunk of the heater box that it broke off is kind of what blows air into the cab, so I don't know if that is the same as the 05, that I can just, it looks like you can take that back half of that off. Hopefully I can just swap them around and not have to look too hard to find that. Here's that like Nerf bar that I was telling you about, this bar that runs from front mount to front mount. This plate here's got a bunch of spot welds in it that we can drill, pull this off and slap it on the other cab. I don't know as far as how it's attached down here on the bottom. The cab here is all black, kind of insinuating that there was a exhaust leak. Whether there was or there is kind of the question. The engine is definitely black down here on the back of the exhaust manifold. I'll have to do some checking on that. It'd be easier to take care of that now than after we cover it with the cab. I just don't know if that's something I want to play with right now. I had the lift up like that from putting the wrecker body on, and when I came down with the forks of the Bobcat to where it was about level, this cab was going to leave the chat and fall off the forks. So I just stabbed it up there like that. I don't know how good it is up there. I'll probably let it down and get a floor jack under it and jack it up and get the arms where they need to be, but it's fine until I start banging on it and cutting on it and everything, and then I'll make sure it's secure so I don't end up underneath it. Get some floor dry. Get our little antifreeze river buttoned up. The back cab mount bolts on the 650, they're just a carriage bolt, and as soon as they got loose enough to do so, they pushed up to where the square part of the carriage bolt was spinning, and So I turned them back down with a pair of vice grips and then put a really good tack on the top. So these little horns are hanging down, and it's just a matter of time with me walking under there that I catch the top of my head on there and scalp myself. All right, look at that. You know, now the cats will have a place to go to the restroom. All full of kitty litter and everything. Probably jinxed myself talking about stabbing one of those bolts into my head. I'll have to. There, I broke the spot welds right off. They have these little keepers here to keep the bolt from going up. That obviously didn't work, but they'll work good enough that I won't be able to just push them up. I'll have to hit them with a dead blow. So I think I've got this pushed in far enough that my welder will reach the far side of this cab so that I can cut the piece out of that cab and weld it in here. I'll have to do some double checking as far as you can see, though, that this brake hole here, you can see how small it is. It's only got 4 holes. The one on the other cab, if you remember, is significantly larger than that, and it's got 6 holes in it, but that's quite a bit bigger there. Not 100% sure. It's like 3 fingers up. That almost looks like it's lower, but maybe it's just an optical illusion. Surely Ford was... Oh no. Look at the difference. 3 fingers. That hole should be clear down here. So it might be a matter of cutting the majority of this out. I'll probably cut this one out, and then I'll use it as a template to mark that one so that they're like spot on. And then I can just, yeah, looking at it, possibly the only hole that is remotely the same as this clutch hole. So I'll do some looking at it. I'll take these pads off of both firewalls, but right now it's looking like probably gonna have to cut this whole square out. I'll take this Nerf bar looking thing off first, and then I'll cut this whole section out of that other one. I don't know if I'll go along and do the spot welds to where I can just do a few spot welds, because I'm gonna have to weld like this whole perimeter unless I take it apart at the spot welds. Then I'll just have to weld that, because I can take all of these spot welds out, all these spot welds out, and all these spot welds out, and then just weld this here on, and then just button everything back together with spot welds. Sure saved me a lot of welding, but we'll see. The welding the 2 sheets together isn't that terrible bad either, but it's almost like a person would be almost as far ahead to just, I mean, what if I came in here and I just hit every one of the spot welds and took the whole firewall out and shoved it in that one? That way I know that this is right and that's right. I wouldn't put any money on it, but I would bet that from here over is almost the same. But if I took this portion of the firewall out, this would come with it, this Nerf bar. So it's lunchtime. I'll kick that around while I'm eating lunch and decide if I want to deal with the whole firewall. It's a lot of spot welds. It's a lot of spot welds. And yeah, I just don't know if I want to deal with that. So I'll kick that around. I'll see you back after lunch. Over lunch, I was kicking around. I think I'm just going to do this section. I'm not going to worry about the whole firewall. I also figured out when I got back, I kind of wiggled this. So this pipe that's supporting it, it's just welded on here. And then it just sandwiches underneath the cab. This is all loose, so it's not welded on or nothing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll find all these spot welds and drill them out, and this pipe will just fall off. That'll get it out of the way here. And then if you look on the inside, oh, this one's going to have, that one still has the sound deadening in it. I took the other one off over here. You can see that this is all double plated where the steering and the brakes and the clutch go. It's all doubled up, and it's even got this roll to it. So we're going to want to cut on the outside of all of that. This double plate actually is clear up here too. So I just keep finding more stuff.